back to my YouTube channel, Camera Crash Course. Today, I'm giving you a review of the Tamron 150-600mm lens for crop sensor and full frame body. This lens is extremely powerful. It goes from 150 all the way up to 600mm. And if you're using crop body, that's equivalent to 900mm. So today, guys, I'm going to put this lens through its paces, see what it's good for: wildlife, moon photography, portraits, and see if it's a good lens that I recommend for you guys. It's $1,400, so for that price, it's got to be good for something. Let's get into it, guys. Put it through its paces. Alright guys, so the first thing you'll notice whenever you're picking up this lens is its sheer weight. The lens comes in at 4.8 pounds when I weighed it, and that's justifiably reasonable considering the amount of glass elements that are in the lens and the metal build in the front and the upper part of the lens. Everything else in the lens, from the mounting grip all the way to the silicone adjustment points, are silicone, plastic, whatever, and it doesn't weigh that much, but when you're carrying this around for a couple hours, it can definitely get tiring. So it's definitely a solid lens, but it comes at a pretty hefty weight for the solidness factor there. The build of it, it seems like it should be a little lighter considering all the plastic elements to it, but it's well built and I would think this is going to last pretty long. Alright guys, so I got my camera set up on my tripod. I'm currently at 150mm on a crop sensor, which is equal to around 225mm, give or take a couple millimeters in focal length. And what I'm doing right now is I'm doing wildlife with the autofocus. So a lot of people are going to be shooting with this lens on an autofocus setup. So I'm going to be shooting autofocus. Now my camera is not the best autofocusing system out there, but it's not the worst. And I'm just going to set up here, and I have a couple chickens I'll be shooting. Hopefully it'll be a deer or something, but there are a bunch of vultures and birds flying around in the sky, so hopefully I'll be able to get a couple shots of that, and I'll show you how the autofocus system works, how it handles it, because obviously guys, you're not going to be using a manual focus lens for shooting wildlife. This is not something you do. It's really hard to do it that way, so we're going to be relying on autofocus. I'm going to show you how it misses, how it hits, so you know how to shoot with the lens. We're going to shoot the autofocus and see how the lens stacks up. So I'm just out here waiting to shoot some stuff. I got my camera set up on the tripod. I will be shooting at 900mm. So we have a couple of bluebirds that have been flying around. They like to perch up on that tree up there. So here one is right now. And we'll see how it hits focus. Alright guys, so another thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be shooting portrait photography with a 150-600mm lens. So I'm going to start out currently at 150mm, and my model, my brother, is 20 feet down there, just standing there for me, and we're going to see how much depth of field we can get from him and isolate the model from the background with 20 feet at 150mm, and then I'll have him move down to like 50 feet, then 100 feet, and then 200 feet at 900mm for the ultimate long lens portrait photo shoot. So it's going to be pretty simple, guys. Again, I'm using autofocus. Manual focus works like a charm. So I'm not going to show you how to use manual focus. You know how to use that. Go use that yourself. I'm just going to try it with autofocus and see the results that we get, because if you're shooting professionally, you're probably going to be shooting autofocus, because manually focusing can get tiresome. So you're just going to take a bunch of autofocus shots and pick the best ones, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. So let's begin. What I'm going to do is I want to have my model walk in increments of like 20 150 to 200 feet away from me, and every time it gets around 50 feet, we'll multiply the factor of the lens by 4 or by 2, and then by the time we'll get to 600 millimeters, which is actually 900 millimeters for me, we'll take a look at each shot and we'll compare them side by side in post and see how each one looks. And is this a good lens for portrait photography? It's definitely a different style. It compresses everything into like a two-dimensional form. Like any lines, shapes, mountain ranges, everything looks way bigger and more exaggerated with a telephoto lens. So hopefully we can get some cool creative shots. I'm just going to be taking a picture of my brother walking on the driveway, so it's nothing too creative. We're just showing you how the autofocus system works and how the depth and everything looks on this lens. So without further ado, let's go ahead, walk down, and I'll take your picture. All right. So guys, I've showed you some examples of how this lens is good for photography related subjects and shooting, but now I want to show you how it's good for video. Now what this lens has is something called in-body image stabilization. Now they call it vibration control. You can turn it on or off on your lens, but pretty much what it is it's a gimbal of sorts that's inside your lens. So when you're at very large focal lengths and hand-holding it, any movements that you do with it off will show up and be very not pleasant to watch, but when you turn it on, it makes the handheld footage actually usable in some cases. So if you pair this with a tripod at 900 millimeters, your shots are going to look pretty smooth. So I'm just going to show you some examples, handheld and with it out without it, and then handheld with it, and you guys can see for yourself just how good this image stabilization is. So if you're looking into this for video, this is definitely a great video lens. I've been using this lens for just under 48 hours, and I gotta say, my user experience and the time that I've been able to get my hands on this lens has been very positive, and I really enjoy using this lens. The interface is easy to use. You pick it up and hit, oh okay, everything's labeled in pretty easy terms. You learn how it works. You can turn it on or off and figure it out. The lens mechanisms, everything about the lens works great. You have your unlocking points, which locks the lens in place. You have your vibration reduction. You have your infinity focus. Everything is really nice on this lens. So before I get into like how I would use this lens, who I recommend it to, I'm gonna give you my pros and cons about this lens. There's a couple pros and a couple cons. I'll let you guys make a decision whether you want this lens or not. But without further ado, guys, here are the pros and cons about this lens. For pro number one, we have vibration control. So it's right here on the side. You can see you can turn it on or off with pretty simple ease of access. It's right there. We have different modes. We have different strengths of how powerful we want that to be. Just keep in mind that as we go further and further up, it's going to be a little bit noisier, but the image will stay very sturdy, as I showed you in the video. Alright guys, so the last pro about this lens, and probably my favorite, is the ability to go from landscape into portrait by just unscrewing this fastener here and tilting the lens 90 degrees into portrait. So this is so easy without having to turn your ball head tripod here. You can just turn the lens on its little mounting plate here, go to 90 degrees, lock in, and continue shooting. So the glass that makes this lens is very high quality glass at that, and the image quality from this lens, if you get focus right, is super impressive. Everything about the everything from front to back screams high quality glass. Now at the price of $1,400, I would expect some pretty decent glass in a lens like this, and the title and price definitely holds up, and you'll get high quality images with very nice optical glass and resolution from that. Alright guys, so coming at con number 1, the lens filter ring here is 95 millimeters. So if you're going to be looking to put any filters on the front element of the glass here, you're going to be needing a 95 millimeter filter size. Now that's a very large piece of glass you're going to be needing there, so it's going to be expensive, and not a lot of them are made for that size. So looking into elements for the front of your glass here, it's going to be expensive, and that's just a downer, especially if you want to use like a circular polarizer or any filter. I don't know what you would put on there, but it's going to be expensive, so keep that in mind if you're getting this lens. It's going to be expensive for filters later on down the road. Alright guys, so con number 2. This lens is extremely heavy, and once you start zooming out to over 600 millimeters, if you're leaving this on a tripod that doesn't have as secure of a head, like this one does have a pretty secure head, but on lighter tripods or whatnot, this is going to always fall forward as there's a bunch of weight in the front, and the lens is heavy to carry around. I carried it around for 3 hours while shooting downtown Sac a few nights ago, and the lens experience was great and optical quality was good. However, with all the body elements and all the glass in here, the lens comes in at just under 5 pounds, and that can get very tiring to hold after a long period of time. So keep that in mind guys. It's a heavy lens and a beefy lens at that. Alright, so another one of my concerns with using this lens is the element which attaches to the tripod here. So the handle or grip of this lens is made of plastic. Now if this was made out of carbon fiber, or not carbon fiber but aluminum or whatever, or some sort of metal, I would have no problem with that. But because it's plastic, and it's thick plastic, but because it's plastic, I'm gonna have to tell you guys, maybe not a good choice if you're using this a lot on a tripod, like you probably would be. But I see this lens lasting at least a couple years with this plastic. It's really decently thick and pretty sturdy, but again, it's plastic, so definitely something to keep in mind if you're looking at this as a professional usage on a tripod a lot. So it's plastic, just keep that in mind guys. Guys, so as you guys can see, the pros definitely outweigh the cons. There's a couple cons to keep in mind: the weight, the focusing is a little bit slow at sometimes, as well as the filter size on the front, but that's really kind of minimalistic things at that. It's a big lens, it's going to be heavy, so keep that in mind. So in the end guys, this is definitely a great lens geared towards I would say portrait or wildlife really. I did a couple moon photography and stuff with it, so I'm gonna leave a bunch of photos at the end for you guys to look through if you want to, so you can see all the high quality images at the end of the video. So if you want to look at the photos I took in this lens, go ahead and look at those. I'll leave those there for your enjoyment. So again guys, this is good for portrait photography as well as wildlife. Keep in mind the odd focusing on my camera, the D3400 is a little bit slow at times, so I did tell you guys that, but the lens is also a little bit slow as well. Okay, so get that out of the way. This is a great lens guys, $1,400. I love it. Okay, I've had so much fun shooting this lens. I want to say thank you to Action Camera for letting me rent this from them. They are a great camera source. If you're in the Sacramento area, definitely check out their website. I'll leave the link in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy your day. I'll see you next time on Camera Crash Course.